Have we started yet? Hi, everyone. This is Mayor Shawyn Patterson Howard, and we are here with a special edition of Sundays with Shawyn. Tonight, we have joining us and hosting tonight, Ms. Cynthia Turnquest Jones. She is the CEO and founder of the Brown Urban Mother Project. She is an incredible member of Delta Sigma Theta and chairs the Social Action Committee. She is a school board member here in the city of Mount Vernon, and she has been a Black Lives Matter activist and just an all-around dynamic woman, and my sister girl and friend. And she's going to take it from here and introduce our Attorney General, New York State Attorney General Tish James, as well as our Senate Majority Leader, Andrea Stewart-Cousins. These two women are trailblazers who I look up to, and I'm just proud to even share a platform with tonight. Thank you. So, Sen?
So thank you, everyone. It's great to be here and hang out with three women who I have sat in the room with many times, and the four-letter word has come up: vote. And so, and making sure that our community vote, and making sure that we vote, and making sure that we get individuals to come out and vote. And with that said, Tish James, our Attorney General, can you please introduce yourself to the listeners tonight?
Thank you, Madam MC, and to Mayor Howard, and of course to the Senate Majority Leader, Andrea Stewart-Cousins, and to all of your listeners, good evening. Obviously, it's a great day in America. Democracy was on the ballot. We showed out in record numbers, and now our mayor-elect is Mayor-elect Biden, as well as our Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. And it's so critically important that we understand that this is a historic moment in our country. But more important, it was a complete rejection and repudiation of the policies of this president. And what we voted for was decency and honor and faith and community, and someone who was going to restore democracy and respect to the White House. And so I just want to thank all of those who came out to vote in record numbers, all of those who, again, overcame all of the acts of voter suppression, harassment, and who stood in line in quiet dignity to exercise the most precious right, and that is the right to vote. And so I thank the mayor of the great city of Mount Vernon for allowing me to be on this panel this evening.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
The great Andrea Stewart-Cousins, who wears the flyest scarves that I've ever. I just want to go in your closet one day and some beautiful scarves that you display. Can you please talk to the listeners tonight before we begin and introduce yourself? Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. And I, too, am just pleased and honored to be here with, my friends, Mayor Howard, our Attorney General, and you, Cynthia. And thank you for braving the storms to be the MC tonight. I'm the Majority Leader in the Senate. I am one of our state government is set up in very much the way that the federal government is set up. So there is an assembly and there is a Senate, and of course the governor is the chief executive officer. So I head the Senate. I'm the first woman to ever head any conference in the history of New York State. Just as the Attorney General didn't do what you told her to do, I think everybody knows she's our chief prosecutor. She's our lawyer. And she is a history maker. She's the first woman who's ever done that, certainly the first woman of color, as am I. And of course, Mayor Shawyn Howard being the first woman and the first woman of color to be in her position as well. But the laws get passed in the legislature, the Senate and the Assembly have to agree, and then the governor agrees or disagrees. If he disagrees, he vetoes it. If he agrees, he signs it. So that is who I am, and I'm also very, very happy to be here with you.
Thank you. So 91% of Black women voted for Biden-Harris. 91%. I start off as this before I give you the question, ladies. On November 13th, 2018, at 5:34 p.m., the Washington Post dropped an article. The title, "Why Aren't More Black Men Outraged into Action When President Trump Insults Black Women?" For months now, Trump was targeting Black women with white supremacist tropes, low IQ, calling us nasty, losers, dogs, stupid. He told one Black female reporter to sit down. At a recent conference, his tone was contemptuous as a plantation owner whose Black maid had dared to question his judgment. Malcolm X in 1962 stated, "The most disrespectful person in America is the Black woman.
Disrespected.
The most unprotected person in America is the Black woman. The most neglected person in America is the Black woman." But the other day, 91% Black women voted Biden-Harris. Let's talk about Black women running. Let's talk about Black men supporting. Thank you.
So can I just start out by saying this, that Black men outvoted every other racial group this past Tuesday. And so I think it's important to understand that Black men came out to vote, and it was a complete repudiation of the policies of this administration. I think it's also important to understand that there are those within the Black community who believe that part of the reasons why Black men cannot find employment is they want to blame it on immigrants. They want to blame it on others. It represents a very, very, very small percentage of Black men. I think overwhelmingly, Black men recognize that this president has been racist, misogynist, incompetent, and unfortunately is not in our best interest. And that's why we came out in record numbers. I think it's also important to understand that Black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party. We basically supported this ticket and saved this ticket in South Carolina.
Yes.
And then we brought it home in Wisconsin, Philadelphia, and in Georgia. And that is why I am confident that the administration of Joe Biden will look like America, and it will be reflected by the beautiful array of Black women and Black faces represented by this panel.
Thank you.
I was really taken with the fact that the president-elect actually said, he went in his speech yesterday, he was calling off his great coalition, and then he paused and said, "I really want to thank the African-American community." He was extremely clear on that. And I think that bodes well for us. We did come out in record numbers, and we always, just like we did in 2016, we understood what was at stake then. When Donald Trump was asking, what do we have to lose? We knew there was something to lose. I don't think anybody thought it could be this bad for this long, for this kind of sustained amount of time. And so at some point, things like this happen to really wake folk up. In 2018, I became the majority. We became the majority, and it was after the 2016 election that people even started paying attention to what was happening in New York State, enough to change the makeup of the Senate so the Democrats could rule. So sometimes you need something as bad as what happened to wake folk up. And that's why I think that everybody who understood what was at stake, especially our community, especially people of color, we were not sleeping this. And, I think that the world knows that, and we understand in ways that maybe we never understood before, how important our vote is. And we understand what we have to lose when we don't use it.
I have to say that I was heartened. I was here for every single day of early voting here at City Hall. Saturdays, Sundays, I held a town hall meeting on the plaza of City Hall the first day of early voting. I sat on the flagpole and answered questions for hours and just walked the lines and encouraged people. And when I tell you that people were so excited, there were some people who complained, oh, this is voter suppression. I said, no, voter suppression is having 2 voting places in the county. We had 1 in the city. Yes, some people had to wait 4, 6 hours, and we were able to get some extra machines. But for the most part, people were happy to stand online. They were happy. They were determined. We said, bring your chairs, bring your snacks. We did the pizza to the polls. We found out about that and took pictures of our long lines and had 10, 20, 30 pizzas delivered, every night. As people were standing online for the polls, people understood that this was an inflection point and that we had the chance to go right or to go wrong. And I think for the past few years, we've been screaming and saying that your voice is your vote. Your voice is your vote. And I said, and right now we're screaming. We're screaming. We're not, it's not just it's our screaming voice right now. And people just came out in mass numbers. Now, what we want to make sure that happens is that people are no longer just motivated to vote in presidential elections, but they understand those midterm elections. In Atlanta and Georgia right now, Stacey Abrams, she wasted absolutely no time in going out there and getting that commercial up for January 5th. They already have the links out there saying this is where you get your mail-in ballot. Come on in, apply for your mail-in ballot, do it right now. And I shared that on my Facebook page yesterday, because as committed as we were to getting the Biden-Harris ticket into the White House, we all around the country have to be just as committed to making sure that those 2 seats flip in Georgia on January 5th.
Right.
We have to be committed to that, like we're committed to losing the next 5 pounds.
That's right.
Have to be committed to it. We have to make sure it happens.
And let me just say this, and to his credit, President Trump did provide funds for historically Black colleges. He also signed a major crime bill, to his credit. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, unfortunately, also drank the Kool-Aid that he, was responsible for the economy, when we all know that he inherited the economy from President Barack Obama. So a lot of people, so there's all this conversation about why did 20% of Black men vote for President Trump? And again, some rappers came out at the last moment in support of him. So that notwithstanding, the bottom line is that Black men, again, voted in record numbers, and they outvoted every other racial group. And it's important that individuals understand, despite those 2 successes or within this administration.
So
I just wanted to dovetail on what the mayor said as well, just because I want to remind people that there was never early voting before we took the majority.
That's right.
And the early voting just started because of the change of leadership. And that's why I say voting matters. And like you said, not just in a presidential year, because had the previous majority still been in charge, we'd be still voting today in New York. Yes. Because when you think about all them lines and how many people came out, we'd still be voting. So we did early voting, and all those things matter, trying to broaden the franchise.
And the fact that the Republicans failed to pass all of those laws, including early voting, was a form of voter suppression.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Exactly. And that's why we don't have vote by mail. There's all over the country, people have been voting by mail. That's why it was so hard for him to discredit it, because so many of the red states have been doing it, not in New York. So, voting matters in many, many ways.
Definitely. So with the me opening up with the percentage of how many Black women voted also comes behind me as an activist constantly telling the Black man that we love them. And so I wear the t-shirts that says, "Dear Black men, I love you." And so with the voting of and the power of the vote from the Black woman comes that of our love for our Black men, because we see how they are treated in such a climate as this. I have a question. What strategies do you use to overcome intentional obstacles?
Intentional.
Obstacles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Black women have always been in the forefront, and we've always propped up and support our men, and we will continue to do that, because as Black women, we think beyond our own selves. We think about our community, we think about our family, we think about our church, we think about our civic associations, we think about our sorority. We hold up the sky. Come on. And so the reality is as we move forward, all of the sisters here are going to continue to fight against systemic racism, fight for a criminal justice system which is fair, fight for full employment within our communities, fight for more services for our children, more childcare, more affordable housing, making sure that we've got equity and we can purchase homes. All of that and more is what we fight for each and every day, because we think beyond our own self-interest. We every single day that we wake up, we think about what is in the best interest of our community writ large.
I have to, Senator Stewart Cousins said something a few months ago when we were on a panel, and she said, when Black women lead, everyone benefits. I don't know if you remember saying that, but you said that, Senator. And, when we lead with such broad strokes. And our AG, our Attorney General, James just said it. We're talking about housing, childcare, full employment, medical services, criminal justice reform. These are things that are not just benefiting a small group. A rising tide lifts all boats. Right. And we have been, at the lowest tide for so long as people of color. And so when we're focused on ensuring that we have greater opportunity and we have greater equity, everyone benefits. Whether you voted for us or not, everyone benefits. Because if you're dealing with the least of these, then those who have had access or who have had privilege or have had opportunity are going to have more of it. But it also provides us to start getting a piece of that pie as well. And Senator, can you speak to that at all?
Well, yeah, thank you, Mayor. I didn't remember saying that, but I certainly know that to be true. And I'm sure the reason why I say it is because even in answer to Cynthia's question about the intentional obstacles, we as Black women have so many obstacles, so many, especially when you're women trying to climb a ladder, so many intentional obstacles that by the time we get wherever we're going, we have had a range of experience that really benefits a lot of people. And we know, like I said, necessity, my mother always used to say, and it's true, necessity is the mother of invention. And that's the other thing. Because when we have all these obstacles, we still know we have to get it done. Mm-hmm. We've got to hold up our half of the sky. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to make, a meal out of a few grains of rice? And so, we do it. So, like I said, by the time we show up in a space of power, we have had obstacles that we have overcome that people, a lot of people would never even have dreamt of in their lifetime. And we bring all those skills and all that knowledge and all that experience. But on top of that, we bring the compassion because we know what it's like.
That's right.
And we don't want to have to make other people go through that stuff if they don't have to. And that's why when Black women lead, everybody benefits because we're trying to make it better so that people don't have to do what we had to do.
Do you think that we're hard on ourselves?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt. That's why today I walked 4 miles because I'm getting fat. Yeah.
You
I
what?
walked 3.
You walked 4 miles?
I
Did
walked 4 miles.
walk?
Yeah.
Really?
I walked 3. I walked 3. So I was
We're very hard on ourselves. Each and every time I do an interview, I critique myself. Each and every time I go into the office and I make decisions, I critique myself. We are very hard on ourselves because we have a high standard for ourselves. We always have and we always will.
And part of that, and I'll just, I'll shut up after this, but part of that is because, to get where we had to go, we had to be 1,000 times better than everybody else.
It's true. Because of the double standards we're subjected to, double and triple standards. And listen, all of our campaigns, during my campaign, I was called the angry Black woman. I was called someone who didn't pay taxes. I was called lazy. I was called stupid. Howard University wasn't good enough. And the list goes on. But guess what? Everybody knows about Howard University today.
They sure do. And I'm a proud Howard alumni right along with you, AGJ.
So I'm really happy that you said that because that segues into one of my questions.
Hold on. Can I just jump in for a second? Because I get to be a guest today and not the host, right? So, as you've said, we've had to work twice as hard to get where we are. You have to be smarter. Your credentials have to outshine everyone. Every piece of our credentials, they question where you went to school, your jobs, your titles. Okay, well, this is how much you got paid. So be happy if we hire you at this rate because it's 10% more than what you got hired in your last position. And then we have gatekeepers. They're gatekeepers. There are people who feel like you have to go through them and get their permission to lead. And that's been something that I've seen all my life, not just in politics, but in community. Wait your turn. It's not your turn yet. And you haven't been blessed by us. You haven't been anointed by us. You haven't been approved by us. What do you think you're doing? And these are, so you have to deal with the gatekeepers. And you have to deal with the fact that by the time we're given an opportunity to lead, whether it's in corporate America, politics, community, education, the system has been so bogged down and broken that when we're handed something, it's already in crumbles and we're expected to put it together and put it together overnight.
That's right.
So after everyone else has failed, after everyone has been given a chance, after everyone has been corrupt, after everyone has, taken advantage of their positions, then they say, you know what? I'm going to give her a try. I mean, nothing else has worked. Let's give them a try. Let's give them a shot. Let's see what they can do now. And that is how things are oftentimes handed over to us when it has been dragged, broken, beaten, and now someone needs to come up and perform some superhuman type of feat just to get it back on track. And some of our biggest critics tend to be our own community because they want it to happen overnight. It's been going for 20 years, but now that they've put it in your hands, fix it and fix it right now.
And we often tend to do that. I mean, the Senate Majority Leader, she inherited a mess. And look what she's been able to do.
Yes.
I inherited not one scandal of one man, but 2 scandals of 2 men. And now all of my critics now want me on all of their shows and in all of their papers. So I just sit back and just praise them because I know how I arrived here.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Right. That's right. And I've always felt like some of the biggest opportunities came obviously when these things happen, because and I saw that even with President Obama, quite honestly, because I mean, we talked about George Bush, of course, everybody's like, oh, George Bush was, a pleasure when you compare it to this. It's like, oh, that George Bush. But by the time, he was getting ready to leave, we were like, come on, man, anybody's got to be better than this. And that was the time that you saw on the stage running for president, women, Latina, a black man, and the Mormons, and everybody, and that's why President Obama was actually able to become. So I thank God for Bush's bumbling, because it brought us Obama. So okay, the thing is that we are ready. Whatever the circumstance is, we are ready. And because we've been honed in fire, frankly, we are ready. And so, yes, we continue to critique ourselves, but I like my critique, and I'll pay attention to my critique, but I really don't pay attention to the critics out there. I trust me to say, okay, you should have done that better. You could have done that better. But just people want to tear me down because, whatever, I pay no attention to at all.
Because you are in the arena. Individuals
That's right.
that stand on the sideline, the story. When you are in the arena, you have that battle. When you're all dressed up and ready for battle, you're the one that's in the arena. So I have a question for you.
But it's also because we carry the banner and the responsibility and the burden of race.
That's right.
And because we don't want to let anyone down.
That's
right. We don't want to embarrass our people.
And
that's why
women and race.
Right. So that's why we're so hard on ourselves.
That's right.
Because if we don't do well, then they'll say, okay, well, a black person couldn't do it. Okay, the woman couldn't do it. And they're never going to be given a second chance.
Exactly.
And every position that I've ever had from the time I got out of Howard University, whether it was at a mental health rehabilitation center, whether it was at AIDS-related community services, when I came to Mount Vernon as director of AIDS programs, and then I went over to drug court, or being, the CEO of the YMCA, I was either the first woman, the first black person, the youngest person. So oftentimes we've led in those trailblazer roles. And so, like you said, we're harder on ourselves than anyone could ever be. I don't believe the good press, and I'm not killing myself because of the bad press, because there's no one that I know that's going to be harder on me than me.
That's right.
And
that's right.
I try and find ways to balance it, but trust me, I'm harder on myself because I always have that. I said, if I don't do this right, they're going to use this as an excuse not to give another person of color, not to give another woman an opportunity. And when I was younger, not to give another young person an opportunity. And so you carry, Senator, you were in Yonkers with me at the YMCA, and what I inherited there was crazy,
right.
And what I've inherited here in Mount Vernon is crazy, and then COVID, like what,
right.
10 weeks later? Right. So it's there's a lot. We've inherited a lot, and yet with all of that, we've had to carry our families on our backs. We've had to learn how to work with far less resources than anyone, whether it's in your family or in your jobs, and now in the positions we sit in, our resources are often far less than what other people got. But we're expected to produce twice as much. But because we knew how to fry bologna, and because we knew how to make government cheese work,
that bologna,
right? And spiced ham and stretch a meal. And make everyone comfortable.
That's right. That's right.
These are the same skills, the same passion, and most importantly, the same determination that we bring to our positions today.
So I'm thinking that you already answered one of the questions that I was getting ready to ask. What does it mean to be a black woman? I just want you to know that last night I watched my mom and dad. So I had to fly down to Florida because my mom is having an issue with her pacemaker, and they were sitting, they were watching Kamala. My mom is 82, my dad is 86, and they were in all their glory. And I just sat there and I watched. I didn't even hear what she was really saying because I was looking at them close to the television screen, just watching every move, and just as proud. And my father, who just loves politics, named every single one of you.
Oh, really?
And my girl, because everybody's his girl. And my girl James, we know what James gonna do after he get out the White House. Everybody's his girl. So what does it mean to be a Black woman
in this time period?
Yes, in this time period.
It's like
You muted yourself, AG.
it's
Okay.
it's like wearing a cape and putting out fires. That's what it feels like to me. Just a cape. We got an S on our chest, all of us. We just don't show it.
Yep. Yep. And the cape is expected to be on 24/7.
24/7.
And it's just, that's what you do. You just that's what you do. So that's what it means to be a Black woman. But I don't think that's different. I think that's always what it's meant to be a Black woman. Mm-hmm. I just don't think that it's just that our responsibilities have increased, so more people see the cape. But my mother wore a cape.
Yeah.
All of our mothers wore capes,
That's right.
It was and they couldn't do half of what we could do.
That's right. I always said,
my mother was very talented. She wanted to be an attorney. There was no way out for her. There was, and even the skills that she had within the arena that she was allowed, she wasn't able to do anything there because of the corporate structure would not hire her.
That's right.
But she had to advocate for her kids. I was sick all the time with asthma. She had to, fight for me and for my health care and this, and my brother, the nuns were always kicking him out of school. And and then she had to be the PTA president, the den mother, the this, the that, and my father, you know what I mean? So we always had a cape.
And the tradition continues.
Yeah,
the tradition continues.
You have the cape, you got the apron,
right.
You got everything.
And all of our ancestors who were dismissed, we carry them on our backs.
That's right. That's right. Because they carried us on their back.
Exactly.
Every time you think what they did with nothing, I was with nothing. I mean, who am I? What am I to say? I can't do that. Got it.
When I heard you say that, I thought about my grandmother, and my grandmother she never had a driver's license. She never had a driver's license, but we got everywhere we needed to go.
That's right.
And then I thought about my mom. My mom didn't have a college education. She was a polio survivor. I think the first case here in Westchester. She's been a cancer survivor. She's living with MS right now and has just been through so much. But yet, my role model, because it wasn't about her education. It was about her determination. It was about her grit. It was about how she sacrificed for her family. It was about how she knew what her strengths were, but she knew even more so what her challenges were. She knew what she could provide, but she knew what she couldn't. And so she made sure that she surrounded us with those who could give us more than she had in her toolbox. Her toolbox was pretty full, but there were some other refining tools that we might have needed from someone else. And she never saw it robbery to make sure that she exposed us to and connected us to other women who might be able to help us to get into certain rooms. Like I always said, and I learned from, one of my mentors and from the Y, they talked about having a mentor, having a coach, having a sponsor, and having a champion. And your mentor helps you to hold your agenda and what you need to do for yourself. Your coach helps you to refine the skills that you're going to need to take you further in life. Your sponsor helps to get you in the room and at the tables where you need to go to your next level. But then your champion uses their influence and puts their name on the line to make sure that you are successful in so many ways. And so, no one arrives in these places on our own, but because we've had mentors and coaches and sponsors and champions, and some had educations and some didn't. and some were elected to office and some weren't, and some could barely read, but they knew how to pray, they knew how to work, and they knew how to nurture, and they knew how to hold accountable. But mostly importantly, they knew how to speak life into us.
That's right.
And help us to understand that with all of our fears and all of our inadequacies and insecurities, that in the midst of all of that, that we still had far more to offer than people who were sitting in places where we wanted to go.
Amen.
We got to take you off mute, AG.
I look at all of the women in my church, and whenever I'm down, I look at their faces. I see the lines on their faces, and I see their hands, how their hands may have lines, and their hands are rough given all of the struggles that they've been to. We've got nothing to complain about, given all of the stories that they've been through. And so they give me strength. And as the mayor said, they breathe life into me. So whenever I'm down or whenever I have a difficult decision, it's always going before the grace of God and looking at all of those women who made it possible for me to be in this position today.
That's right. When I hear all those ideals, the sponsor, the mentor, the coach, to this and that, these women didn't have all that.
Right.
They were all that. They were their sponsor. They were their coach. They were their mentor. They didn't have, maybe they had somebody who would teach them. In my mother's case, her mother died when she was 4. And so, her idea of what her future would be almost didn't exist. She was in a time that women had no opportunities at all. But yet she managed. She was, I think, very unhappy because she was so frustrated that she could not really achieve her potential. And unfortunately, for part of her life, she did, drink. And when I got older, I realized the pain of not being able to do any of the things she really wanted to do was what she was trying to solve. But I also realized what she was able to do in the midst of all of that inadequacy, all of that persecution, suppression, oppression. Look at me. She was somehow able to tell me that I could be somebody. We didn't know how, but that's what she said. Get an education. Just do that. Pray, get an education, see what happens.
So Senator, and I'm sorry, Sin, I just have to say this. I remember when you first ran for senator.
Yeah.
And you lost by 8
votes.
8 votes.
18.
18.
In February.
Yes. It took them that long to count the ballots.
Wow.
How do you come back from that? How did you recover? How did you determine that I'm going to try this again? Like we said with Stacey Abrams earlier, when that election was stolen from her, she didn't go into a corner and hide. She came back out swinging. And even though she didn't run, and she wasn't seeking certain things, she wanted to make sure other people had opportunities. How do you recover from what you experienced? And you went through a lot.
I did. And the funny part about that was that they didn't see me coming. And that's the other thing that being a Black woman is that people underestimate you. That's the other thing. So there was just no assumption that I was ever going to be able to beat this man. He was a 28-year incumbent Italian guy he and his family had been just the tradition of Westchester for generations. So they laughed at me. So the fact that they were fighting me until February, and I can't tell you how many people have told me, I know a lot of things happened, but I was able to, between November and February, people didn't quite know who I was. And after the presidentials were over, we were the only race in town. And every day I got on that what are you doing? I said, well, we need to count every vote. Nothing different. Nothing has changed. New York in 2005, or when I ran was 2004, is no different from Georgia. I mean,
Right.
we're a little better now because we've elected other people. But I will tell you quickly that I met somebody in January who was asking me, Senator Patterson wanted to know whether I wanted to run again the next time. And I knew it would be even scary because now I know that they knew that I could win. And so now they were going to throw everything at me. And I was in Harlem, and God is my witness. I was in Harlem and I met with Liz Kruger, who was in charge of the DSCC. They wanted to know if I wanted to run again. If I wasn't, they knew that seat was gettable, so they would get somebody else, but they wanted to give me the right of first refusal. And I'm saying, I don't know. I put my family through so much. I was going to Nubia. There was a store, and Vera Moore, who sells cosmetics, she was the first African-American woman on a soap opera. She had a line of cosmetics, and I met Liz Kruger, and then I was going to go to her store. I was walking down the street. Somebody came up to me and said, "You Andrea Stewart Cousins?" And I said, "Yeah." And this person said, "I voted for you." And I said, "Really? Where do you live?" And sure enough, they lived in Westchester. I'm like, okay. I walked into the store. Somebody said to me, "You Andrea Stewart Cousins?" I said, "Yeah, I'm in Harlem." I said, "Yes." And that person said, "I voted for you." And I'm like, "Really?" And where they live. I then walked down an aisle, and the sister in a hijab came up to me. She said, "Are you Andrea Stewart Cousins?" And I said, "Yeah." "Are you going to run again?" And I said, "Did you vote for me too?" And she says, "Yeah." "Are you going to run again?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I'm here thinking about it." She said, "The path has been laid for you. You might as well walk on it." And then I said, "Okay." I said, "I heard you." So I just ran again. And this time,
that was a sign.
That was the sign,
That was a sign.
Exactly. I said, there's no one, when God I kept hearing
exactly.
it. So I said, okay, fine. And that's what I said. Okay, I'm going to run again. And I won by, over 1,800 votes.
Right. So you can plan all you want and God laughs. That was the sign.
Exactly. And that's where, you have to be able to hear it. I don't want to be that like that joke where it said, God saved me. And it's like, well, I sent you a plane. Oh no, I sent you a helicopter, and I tried to rescue you. So, I mean, I heard it. And so I'll do it.
That's it.
Beautiful. So we have like 10 minutes left. And before I ask you to give some inspirations to those who are listening, if they are choosing to do whatever they want to do, I want you ladies to give them some inspirational talk. But before that, I have a question for my HBCUs, who alumni. I would like to know. I would like for you to talk about that experience and the importance of it.
Well, I wanted to go to the school where Thurgood Marshall basically devised the civil rights struggle. I wanted to touch those halls, and I wanted to sit in those classrooms, and that's exactly what I did. And they taught us from day one all about social justice, and that's why I'm just committed to social justice and using the law both as a sword and as a shield. And so it's an honor and a privilege, one, to be the first woman of color elected as the Attorney General and elected statewide, like Kamala Harris. And it's an honor, again, to be a proud graduate of Howard University, like Kamala Harris, which is why I'm so incredibly proud of our Vice President-elect.
And as a Howard University alumni as well, I went down there. Honestly, it was the only college that I applied to. I didn't apply anywhere else because I didn't want to go anywhere else. I wanted to go to Howard. I'd heard about Howard. I had an uncle who went to Howard and graduated from Howard. And I went to his graduation, and it was in the stadium, the Dust Bowl, before it had been redone. But I saw Black and brown faces. I saw, the professors who were doctors, and they had all of their regalia and their robes, and it was flowing. And I saw that as a young woman, and said, I want to have an opportunity to do that. I saw the love that was shared amongst the students and the respect amongst the students and the professors. And I felt that I needed to be there. I felt that I needed to be there. Mount Vernon was very diverse and my educational experience was very diverse, but I wanted to see something different. And I can tell you, they didn't give us any choice. As my girlfriend Maria says, they gave us no tea for our fever. And so if you that's Maria George. If you think you're going to go to a historically Black college and university and that you're going to get a substandard education, that is very wrong. Those teachers didn't want to hear your excuses.
None.
They didn't want to hear I'm a single, my mama was a single mama. I didn't have my daddy in my life. I grew up in foster care. We were poor. We were struggling. They said, and that is why you're here. And that is why we're not trying to hear about you partying. They told us during freshman orientation, look to the left and look to your right.
Right.
By the second semester or the end of the first year, one of these people's not going to be here.
That's right.
Coming down here with the wrong attitude and the wrong spirit. So if you think, everyone talks about the fraternities and the sororities and the partying, but the academic rigor is unapologetic. And no one is going to give you anything. You better earn everything that you get while you're there, because no one's going to give you a good grade. I even fought with some teachers where I had like a 96 average and I got a B. Wow. And I was upset. That messed up my 4.0 2 semesters in a row. I was hot and bothered. But she said, well, look, this is going to prepare you. It might not seem fair. She said, but baby, life ain't fair. And life's no crystal stair. I said, but I earned it. She was like, there's a lot of things in life that you will earn that you still won't get. And so you might as well taste that bitter medicine right now. I didn't necessarily care for that explanation, but I can tell you that it has proven true in my life, and it definitely made me a better person because I took her 2 semesters in a row, and I knew even if I got 100 the next semester, most likely she wasn't going to let me have that A that I had earned, but I still worked hard. I still, I wanted to prove that I could, get those grades. I didn't get the grade on my report card, but I learned and I grew. And I developed grit and resilience and a level of fortitude that I don't think that I would have to this day if I didn't go to an HBCU.
Okay. Well, what is it?
HBCU, but I did go to college. I would just want you to know I had to get an education.
Yes. And the only reason I wanted to lift
and it's not too late, Senator.
Yeah, that's right. I know. Well, I went to school. I was a teenage mom. So I had worked and with the family before I started going back to college. So I got through it as an adult, and I went to Pace. And then I went for my master's when I was, quite the adult. And got that too. But I am sorry that I missed the kinds of experiences that you have. And I'm certainly happy that the value of education at HBCUs are, in people's minds and being uplifted so much. And I have a grandson, I'm happy to say, that is applying to Howard. So I know who to talk to.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. I didn't go to HB.
Okay, good. I was feeling like I had to justify myself.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat as you are, but I went to Iona College.
Good. Okay.
Excellent. And other places. But what is the legacy that you want to leave behind, ladies? What is the legacy that you would like to leave behind?
Wow.
Let my work speak for me.
Exactly. I don't want to be remembered as the first Black woman ran statewide, citywide. I want to be remembered for the lives that I've helped and the people that the people who had a yoke around their neck, and that yoke was made easier by my work. That's my legacy.
Me too.
You know, come on, Senator.
No, I was saying me too, and I was going to say you three. That's
Yes, I mean, me as well. And one of the things someone had asked me, you know, everything that I heard back in last November and December and January, and still up until now, you made history, you made history. And the only response that I had to that is I said, I never set out to make history. I set out to make a difference. I set out to have a good and a positive and a sustainable impact wherever I had an opportunity to make a difference. And in the process, I made history. History is nice, but we don't sit back and get drunk on history.
That's right.
We continue to strive and make a difference, because that's why people entrusted us to be in these positions, because they felt that we could make a difference in their lives, in their community, in the way justice is meted out, in the way policies and legislation is created that trickles down and on a local level and makes a difference in their day-to-day lives. And so the history is great and it's nice. And you get a star next to your name or something like that. But the impact, the difference that you can make is the legacy that you want to leave behind.
Our history will be nothing more than a footnote. And how many of us read footnotes?
Right.
That's right. That's right. Well, you know, I said, I never thought I'd be in government. It was because of the involvement in the desegregation fight in Yonkers that I actually got pulled into government. But for me, when I looked at how much government had done either to prevent me, people like me, my family, or to assist in removing a barrier or two, but I realized the government could do that. The same government that can segregate housing is the same government that desegregates housing.
That's right.
You know, the same government that will give you Social Security and Medicaid, the same government that will, you know, say you can't get nothing. I mean, it's the same government, you know, that gave some farmers, you know, money to learn how to farm and to build crops. And then the same government says, no, you're not eligible to get anything. It's the same government. So what matters is who's sitting there. And I had made a promise to myself and to the people that I represent that as long as I'm sitting there, I'm going to be finding ways to remove barriers and being a help and not a hindrance. So.
As we come to an end, message to the young girls from you. What would you like for them to come away with and start tomorrow?
I'll take the first shot at that. For me, is that you can do it. It's just that simple, that you can do it. You have to believe in yourself if no one else believes in you. And even when you don't believe in yourself, you still have to pick yourself up off the floor and do it. I sit here now as mayor, but I'm someone who has a learning disability. I'm dyslexic. I have processing speed issues. I'm eligible for an IEP. And that's something for a long time that I struggled with as a student, and I struggled with even in my adult profession. And I just had to develop tools to get up early, stay up late. So some people say you don't sleep. Well, it's because I had to work extra hard to show up. They say you speak well. I speak well because I was terrified of writing. And so if I could raise my hand and speak out loud, maybe I'd get extra points and the teacher wouldn't get to the written exam. But I've had to learn how to improve my writing skills, and my writing skills over the years have helped gain millions of dollars. And so even when you don't believe that you can do it, you still have to push forward. And even when you don't believe in yourself, and there were times that I didn't believe in myself. And I realized that the biggest enemy was me. The biggest enemy of me was me, because I knew I had competence, but I lacked confidence. And oftentimes no one had to put me on a back burner. there were times I put myself on the back burner. And so I tell people all the time now that I don't want you to be impressed with who I am. I want you to understand, because when people are impressed by you, they don't think that they can reach where you are. I want you to be inspired by the truth of my struggle. And if I'm honest about and transparent about my struggle, then you'll understand that you can reach wherever you want to reach. Because if I'm here, trust me, you can get to where you want to be. Because I had to find a way to develop confidence and surround myself with people who would continue to push me when I wanted to pull back.
Well, I was listening to you because when you said that you could speak, but you couldn't write, I was the opposite. I was absolutely phobic about speaking in front of people, but I could always write. And because I could always write, I saw myself always in the background. And because there was nobody around that actually, nobody who was speaking, you didn't see Black, I wanted to be a journalist. You didn't see Black women journalists. You didn't see Black men journalists back then. You just didn't see Black people anywhere doing important things. So now what I tell young people is that you have opportunities that abound. So as the mayor said, have faith in yourself, surround yourself with positive people who are going to support you, and find some way that you can contribute to what's around you. If it's planting a tree, or if it's organizing, young people, whatever it is, there are so many things that young people are doing. There are so many young people that I, as a leader, look to for support, and actually show up at their rallies and show up when they are saying, look, pay attention. This is a time where young people are being valued and heard and believed and listened to, and take advantage of that. Get your education, be positive, have faith, be whatever you want to be. And I want to continue to be in America that proves every day that the sky is the limit and the dream of America is alive, no matter who you are.
We're at a critical moment in history, and all that I can say, because we only have like a minute left, is to dream big, and don't allow anyone to define you or to limit you. There's a significant number of women of color right now in positions of power, and obviously our vice president-elect has cracked through the ceiling. But it's important that we keep that ceiling open so that others can march through it. We've got to continue to create opportunities. We've got to continue to inspire individuals, but you got to really be true to yourself. And you have to make sure that you are grounded in your faith, grounded in knowing in who you are, grounded in knowing who you serve, and grounded in knowing that that much has been given to you and therefore much is expected. And grounded in knowing the history of African-American people, and that we've made a lot of sacrifices to be in this position, and that there's still more room at the table. God bless you, and thank you. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Cynthia. And I thank all of Mount Vernon, and congratulations, and thank all of you for exercising the most fundamental right, and that is the right to vote. We did it, and we're going to do it again.
Yes.
So, on that note, I would like to, I thank you for hanging out for this hour, giving a shout out to Howard University, where Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and D9 came out of, and were powerful with the vote. And as we continue, you have our support. We will continue to vote. We will continue to vote. We will continue to stand. And whatever you need us to do next, please let us know. We are there for you. We appreciate you. Everyone listening, Remember to get out and vote. Remember to stand up. And also remember that we are not finished. We got work to do. We have solutions that we need to start immediately. Thank you. Good luck and God bless everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
Bye. Take care. Bye.